Tax day is coming up, and it's not just adults who can kind of learn something from this. Teaching kids about money, including where taxes go, can start earlier than you think. So Jessica Rollins from Sylvan Learning here in Grand Rapids is here with some simple hands-on ways to help kids understand spending, saving, and how taxes support our community. Good morning to you, Jessica. We appreciate you coming in. Let's start off with just why it's important to teach financial literacy to some of our youngest learners.
Yeah, as adults, we know that taxes are shared services that provide essential needs for individuals throughout their lives.
Yeah.
But we want to start much simpler than that at a younger age. So we want to start by talking about this idea of shared services. So one of the things that we encourage families to do with children is use that good old-fashioned piggy bank, a mason jar, whatever you want to use.
Yeah, I called it, what did I call it? A
money jar.
But she corrected me. She goes, I still use the old-fashioned term piggy bank.
Yeah.
But this is more of like a money rainbow.
Yeah. This was actually a gift when our daughter was born. She's now 18, so that's a well-loved piggy bank. But the first time that we were saving for something as a family was a big trip to Disney, which we're going on together, right? And so when our kids were very young, 3 and 5, anytime they had additional money, we would encourage them to put it in that jar that went towards something that we shared as a family. Maybe you're saving for a basketball hoop, a puppy, something that you're doing shared is really important for them to understand. And then as they grow and age, maybe you want to talk then next about the idea of wants versus needs. So taking that piggy bank to the next level, and maybe you save as a family to donate to a charity that provides basic needs to individuals.
I definitely love that sentiment there too. It's very important to be able to have some of these kind of ideas going into your younger years, children being able to understand that share and then also save, two different aspects there. What do you think would that balance be, and how do you teach kids kind of there's a good balance here to make sure that you're putting something towards both?
There is. I think that modeling that as a family and opening up about your own finances is really important. It's one thing that as a family we've really tried to change the dynamics. Our parents and adults were very closed off about finances at home. When we talk with our children, who are now 16 and 18 by the way, so we're in a bit of a different phase, we talk about if we want to go to that travel sports tournament, is that a need or is it a want? And what sacrifices might we need to make as a family to make that tournament happen? And how can you, as our children, participate in these family finances and budget?
So it's interesting, you're using these concepts to kind of build this idea of saving and budgeting. How can you use those money jars or piggy banks to kind of model off the sharing or tax kind of that concept for kids? How can you use that to kind of help illustrate that idea?
Yeah, I think as they grow, using those funds to look at giving ways. So one of the things that we've done as a family, and actually both as a company, is supported Sleep in Heavenly Peace. So they provide basic needs bedding for children who don't have a bed of their own. And so getting your children to understand that you may not personally benefit from the place that this money is going, but someone who dramatically needs it is, and there may come a time in your life where you are one of those individuals who are in need of those services.
Yeah, so I mean, kids though, when they're young, they probably don't react very well when they realize, okay, this money's not going to anything that I want, it's going to whatever the community gets. I mean, am I right or wrong? I mean,
no,
kids usually have a bad reaction.
Yeah. And that's why I think thinking of your community a little bit differently. So when they're very young, when they're 3, 5, 6, 7, their community is their family. And so renaming that community as your family and looking at a shared service as a family versus when they're older, and certainly my own children now who have their own jobs, we're talking about, can you direct deposit part of your paycheck into your checking and into a savings account? And then we just filed our first set of taxes with our 18-year-old, right? So thinking of how that community grows and changes as your children grow and change is really important.
It's interesting because you have the building blocks, right? You start small and then you kind of build up toward the concept of what a tax is, or a concept of how to even go about paying those.
Yeah, absolutely. Building those building blocks, kind of teaching about taxes, money, all of the above. Now, even as a parent, what are some of the misconceptions that you saw for children growing up that they didn't really understand about money at first?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is opening up about your family finances.
That's a big one. one.
It
Yeah.
is. It is 100%. And we've tried really hard with our kids to say, travel tournaments is fresh in my mind because it's a topic in our household right now. But, let's talk about what budget we have or what disposable income we have for those types of things and how you can help us make that happen. And again, we are a small community as a family. And then at Sylvan, and you can do this at home, we do use a token economy. So when students are trying their best and trying things that they maybe hadn't tried before, we do reward them with tokens. And then we do have a motivation station where they can purchase things with those tokens. So it is important throughout their life cycle to learn that rewards, money, tokens, allowance are given based on effort, not always based on results.
Something you mentioned with your own kids, you mentioned you just filed your first set of taxes with your 18-year-old. I know that one adult mark, you think you turn 18 and it's all fun and games when you become an adult, but you still have to pay those taxes. As they grow older in age, what would you recommend to parents who are kind of walking kids through that financial journey early on in their life to that 18-year-old mark? Obviously, the concept and communication changes, but I guess what would you recommend to those parents who have an 18-year-old who are sitting down to help file those taxes? It's a frustrating journey. I'm going to be honest, I'm 28 years old. I was on the phone with my dad for hours last night trying to file my taxes. But obviously that conversation changes. So how would you say parents should handle that?
I think don't be afraid to start early. So our 18-year-old is a great example. She actually met with our financial advisor or a financial planner when she was 14. And because we don't have a huge savings for college, we knew that college was going to be something as a family and as an individual that she would have to budget for. So believe it or not, that conversation started well before college was a part of the game. And again, being open and honest about what we could provide as a family toward that next chapter in her life and what she would need to start planning early for. So, it's something that my family would have never had me meet with a financial advisor at 14 years old.
Yeah.
But I think we're doing a better job of educating our generation of children on how they can start early with those finances. And so she's even starting now with some retirement savings at 17 years old when she got that very first job. And so being open and honest and transparent about the process, and it's never too early to open up that book. So as a business owner, our students understand, or our children understand that our finances are very weighed on how hard we work as business owners, and that sometimes we have to sacrifice to make our dreams happen. And so we're honest and open with them about that.
How would you say that, children that learn these lessons early on in their lives, they've obviously probably better off and well prepared for the future, but in your own experience, can you articulate how that has transferred into kids that have grown up with those lessons versus kids that haven't?
Yeah, I think as adults, it's understanding those wants versus the needs at that greater level. How many of us made mistakes graduating from college? You get that first real job, right? And you think you're making an exorbitant amount of money until those bills start coming in. And so I think we all learn those mistakes the hard way with our first, what I would call a real job. Where we had all this money in the bank, we went out and bought these things that we felt like we needed. And now later in life, we've changed those budgeting habits. And so by starting earlier, when they're getting those first paychecks that maybe are $100, $200 versus $2,000, it's a very different lesson that they're learning on that $100 paycheck than that $1,000 paycheck.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so when we're talking about like the money jar / piggy bank method, originally talking about, okay, spending versus saving, but in reality, once you get into the real world, you have your adult job really, and you start to see, oh, there's a lot more jars here. There's taxes, there's rent. How do you kind of introduce more of those jars?
I think that you have to wait until your child is ready for that discussion, and you're really going to know by judging their habits. So for us, it was really when they got their first jobs, being open and transparent about our plan as a family. We would help you purchase a vehicle, but then gas and maintenance of that vehicle was on your own. And we'll see, our son is 16, he got his first car, and He does not yet have a job and has very limited money to buy that first tank of gas. So I think they're each going to learn it differently. Our oldest is a saver, our youngest is a spender. So our conversations aren't the same with each of them because our youngest may not be ready for those same conversations that we had with our oldest.
All right, we have about 20 seconds left. If there's one message you want kids to take away or even parents to take away from this discussion, what is that?
Don't be afraid to make them have that delayed gratification. So if they don't have enough money to purchase something, please don't step in and give them the extra dollars. Make them wait, make them save. Children need to learn the benefits of delayed gratification.
All right, that's a good tip there. Jessica Rollins with Sylvan here in Grand Rapids. We appreciate your time. By the way, tax day next Tuesday.
It's coming.
Don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but it's next Tuesday, so get those taxes in.